So in today's video, I'm going to be backtesting gold over some of the 2024 price action. I'm going to be giving away my full trading plan completely for free, and I'm walking you through step by step the exact system that I currently use. So before we get into the backtesting, let's do a quick rundown of the trading plan and the system that we're going to be testing, and then we'll head over to the charts and do some backtesting. So let's jump right into it. Right guys, so as mentioned, before we get into the back testing, let's do a quick rundown of the trading plan. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, this trading document, this trading plan is going to be left completely for free in the description below. So if you guys want access to this, check the description below and you can download it for free. So a brief rundown of what we're actually looking for in terms of this strategy. First step is we're just going to identify the higher time frame market structure and direction. And I typically do this on the daily and 4-hour charts to get an overall sense and picture of that higher time frame narrative. So where is price heading? What is the overall market structure and what is the overall trend? And then typically I'm only looking to take trades in line with this direction. So if price is bullish, I'm only looking to buy, and vice versa for sells. I'm also, when I come to identify this market structure and direction, I'm also marking on the actual structure points any previous mitigations of supply and demand, just so that I can get a very clear sense and overall picture of what the higher time frame is doing, where the current structure levels are, and all of that sort of thing. And then step 2, this is when we're going down to some of the more intraday time frames, identifying any valid points of interest where we're actually going to be looking to buy or sell from. So looking within the current trend leg, right, we're going to identify any areas of imbalanced supply or demand which price could potentially pull back into. We're also making sure we're aware of any liquidity levels or areas of liquidity where price could potentially take out before then continuing that overall move. And typically before entering any trade, I want to see some previous people getting taken out of the market and for price to come up into one of those areas of supply slash demand. And then I have a few criteria for it right here, which you guys can read if you download the trading plan yourself. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to do a quick and brief walkthrough rather than an in-depth description of it, because that's not the purpose of this video. So step 3. Once prices come into that POI, right, we need some extra confirmation that this area is going to hold, and this is where we go down to the lower time frames to identify lower time frame structure. So let's imagine that prices come into that hourly level of demand. On the M5, what we're waiting for is for the structure to shift back in line with that higher time frame. So if higher time frame is bullish and price has retraced into a demand, M5 is going to be bearish. So what we're waiting for is for the M5 to simply flip bullish, and all we're looking for here is for price to break the most recent lower high in the case of a buying opportunity and break the current higher low in the case of a selling opportunity, right? And then once we see this, we're simply looking for a pullback into an area of imbalance, and we're setting a limit on these areas. And as I've said here, and what I try to emphasize is try not to overthink this. It can just be as simple as waiting for that M5 change of character, seeing the imbalance created, and then just simply mechanically entering based off that rule set. So step 4, this is when we come to some of the more nuanced details about where we place stop loss and TP. For me, and what I really like to emphasize to the guys inside VIP is it's very beneficial if you have a mechanical TP rule. So for myself, and what we're going to be backtesting in this video is actually just a simple mechanical 1 to 3 risk to reward TP. So no matter what the structure to the left is, we're just going to be setting our targets at a 1 to 3. This helps to remove any discretion and emotional decision making, which for a lot of people is a major issue. So this kind of just helps to circumvent that problem. Then stop loss is just going to be essentially in a place that makes sense, which invalidates the trade. So in the case of this change of character entry, we're having it above the high with a little bit of room, because this is a place that actually invalidates the trade, rather than me just, for example, having it very tight just above this high. which for me, it doesn't really make sense to have it just above the high, because, you know, price could wick this out and then still go and continue to the downside. Hence why we have this bigger stop loss right here, because it makes more sense to do so and it is much more logical, right? Now, risk management, for the sake of the back testing, obviously this is a little different if we go into the live market, but for the sake of this video, the only thing we need to know is we're doing 1% risk per trade on every single trade. I don't manage the trades or make break even or anything like that, because based on my data, I have found that using the mechanical 1 to 3 risk to reward, it's more profitable to just simply let the trade run to stop loss or take profit, rather than actively managing the trade and trading stop loss or making break even. And then I have a few extra rules here based on whether I'm trading prop firm accounts, multiple prop firm accounts, single accounts, or all of that sort of thing. And again, you guys can read through this completely for free in the description below for yourself. I've also included some details about the key processes around trading that I implement. So trade journaling, how I exactly do this, and the sort of the template that I use to do so. And then at the bottom, you can also see we have this section for the weekly, monthly, and quarterly ASR, which stands for Advanced Self-Review. This is basically an introspective process where you go back through, review your performance, journal any trades, any missed trades, any emotional factors that come into play, any mistakes, all of that sort of thing. And again, I've included the exact template to doing so right here as well, which you guys can again check in the description below for free. Now, that's it for the trading plan, and that's all I wanted to go through in this video. So let's hop over to the charts now, and we'll get right into back testing this strategy so you guys can see how it actually works in the real market. All right, guys, so thank you for joining me here over on the charts. So let's get right into the back testing. So here on gold, what we can see, very clear bullish trend, parabolically bullish at this point in time. So as I mentioned, the first step of the trading plan would be to just identify this overall market structure and market direction, in which in this case is fairly obvious. Price is very clearly bullish. So if we break it down to some of the lower time frames and get into some of the more refined levels, what we can see, and if we just go ahead and mark on the current structure, we can see that price has pulled back and held demand just here. We've then pushed up and broken structure again, just here, right, on the hourly time frame. And one thing that's key with this strategy, right, is kind of just to adapt to the momentum of price. In this case, if you're looking at the daily time frame, for instance, there's not really any clear structure to go off. Price is just parabolic at the moment, very small pullbacks, and then before the next impulsive move. So when we have a scenario like this, right, we want to make sure we're focusing more so on these intraday and lower time frames, so we can actually see the structure that's developing. And this is going to give us obviously that clearer insight into where price is likely to head going forward. So in this case, we can see this is the current bullish leg. This is where we're looking for those buying opportunities. And obviously in this case, we're only looking for buying opportunities because of that very bullish trend. Currently, I'm not seeing a valid POI here. So if we just let price to develop slightly more, and then we can see how it moves from here. Cool, there we go. So price is starting to retrace. Again, because of this very bullish trend that we're in, I wouldn't be trying to say that this is a reversal. If we're going to see price reverse, we need to see it at least come down and break some sort of higher time frame structure before it does so. So right here, I would be very hesitant to be trying to sell price. You know, if you're looking on the very low time frames, you could say that price had a change of character here, so this is likely to continue lower. However, because of that very bullish trend, like I said, what I'd be more so inclined to do here is just view this as a pullback for eventual higher prices. What we could maybe see is for prices to come down into this sort of demand. That's a valid POI that I've sort of seen. One other thing that we could maybe see, we have now just seen price grab the last bit of internal liquidity sort of into this imbalance. So This could also be a valid buying opportunity if we can see a confirmation, which again is the next step in the trading plan. So if we can see a valid change of character right here, I'm happy to look for some buys from here, but alternatively, we could also see it come into that demand just below as well. But yeah, there we go. So price just came straight into the demand. Obviously no reaction there to that first level, but let's have a look how price reacts here. This could be a nice opportunity. Notice how price has also retraced into a discount. That's what we ideally want to see as well. Could also see a sweep of these lows. That would also be a nice opportunity. But yeah, at the moment, just kind of reacting to what price shows me rather than trying to predict exactly what it's going to do. So let's see how it reacts to this area. Nothing just yet in terms of confirmation. Right, okay, there we go. So price has come down. I'm liking this reaction at the moment. It didn't hold the demand, but it did grab these previous lows. And it also tapped back into this demand that it held previously. If we're looking at lower time frame structure here, in order for this to be a valid trade, I need to see a break above the current structure, which is this high right here. Which, there we go, we have just got very impulsive move as well. Lots of momentum coming into the market. So this is like an ideal scenario that we want to see. We also have a clear level of demand right here after that change of character. So this is a perfectly valid trade. I'm going to set the limit right here. Stops will go just slightly below that demand. Again, in a logical place that makes sense. And then TP 1 to 3, again, mechanical risk to reward target, which is, like I said in the training plan, something that I like to use and incorporate, and I also emphasize in VIP as well for the members to use. I find this is the sort of more practical approach for the majority of people that struggle with that emotional decision making in their trading. So let's see if this can pull back for us. Right, there we go. So we are now tagged into this move. Let's see if it can push up. I'm at least looking or expecting price to head towards, this sort of supply that price created. I'm not really interested in selling from this, but this could be, a nice TP for us, or a nice area to kind of watch out for in terms of the buys. Cool. So nice reaction so far. Let's see if this can continue. There we go. I'm liking that. And there we go. So first trade, TP hit. Very nice stuff. If we zoom back out now, what we can see is price has created a new high. This bullish order flow is still continuing from, if we're following this internal structure away from the POI that we had originally. The only thing that sort of is throws me off about trying to buy here is the fact that you've left these equal lows down here. So what I'm thinking now is maybe if price does start to retrace, you could maybe see like a sweep of those equal lows into a lower demand right here. So if we maybe saw price grab this low into that demand, that would be another buying opportunity. But apart from that, I'm not seeing too many clear POIs at the moment. You could say, for example, this is one. But again, I don't want to buy above those equal lows because I think there's a high probability that they get taken out. So let's just see how price develops here. It does look like it is pulling back, so hopefully we can see the sweep. But yeah, apart from that, I wouldn't really be interested in doing anything else here. Right, there we go. So it did sweep those lows, right? So this is when we can, again, jump down to the lower time frames. Look at the current structure. Currently on the M5, you guys can see there's not really any structure there. So what I would look for here and what I would wait for is, one, what we could have a scenario where price simply just rallies and doesn't give us a valid entry. But two, and this is the preferable scenario for us because it could present an entry, would be if we can get a sweep of this, then a change of character, and then a pullback to look to buy. So let's see how this shapes up. Right, there we go. So price is now tapped into that demand, right? It re-grabbed this previous low. If we're looking at the M5 structure, we need to currently see price break this high before the trade is confirmed. So if we see if that happens. There we go. So that is exactly what I was waiting for. And then in terms of entry areas, if we kind of just zoom out a little bit, we have this whole sort of demand region right in there. And this price has also created some liquidity above it as well. This is another perfect trade, so I'm just going to set this limit like that. Stops just below the demand, and then we'll go for... So one thing that is a kind of rule for me in this strategy is that I never want to target above the external high. So this high right here is obviously the main trend high, therefore it's the external high. So what I want to do is get a 1 to 3 before this high is hit, right? Because I don't want to target past it. So I'm going to slightly adjust the stop loss on that. Slightly more aggressive in this case because it is a bit tight below the demand, but in order to secure that 1 to 3, that is what we had to do in this case, so that's completely fine. And this limit order would be valid unless this high gets taken out before price pulls back into the limit, but at the moment it does still look valid. So let's have a look. Cool, so we are now tagged in. If you wanted to wait for another M5 confirmation here as well, you have had that. So you've now seen, again, M5 change of character right there. So if I was looking for a re-entry on this trade, I would look for a retest of this demand zone right here. So something like this. And then, again, 1 to 3 TP. But in this case, because this would mean I'm risking 2% on the trade, because we're obviously in this first trade, I wouldn't actually be entering this unless I can make the first trade break even. But in this case, I can't, because obviously the entries kind of align in this case. But yeah, if you miss the first trade, this one would be nice as well, as long as price doesn't break this high first before pulling back. You've also now created, if we pause this, you've also now created a nice area of liquidity above it as well. So this would be a perfect setup if you missed the first one. And yeah, there we go. So absolutely perfect trade right there. Literally zero drawdown, just flew straight to the TP. And our original trade also hit TP as well. But yeah, nice one, guys. So what we can do now is simply, again, zoom out and look for some more buying opportunities. So again, what I'm looking to do here is simply follow this internal trend that we have back up towards this high here, which was at the time the all-time high, I believe, as well. But yeah, if we're looking to follow this internal trend, we've obviously now had another breaker structure right here. So what I would be looking for would be a pullback into a new POI and then look to continue buying from there. Cool. So in terms of new POIs that we could look at, right, at the moment we've kind of just had this impulsive move up. There isn't really a lot that I'm seeing, so I'm just going to let this develop slightly more first. Okay, so price is pulling back. It did react from that area of supply, like I said, just here. So definitely want to be cautious of that. But maybe what we could see now, if we actually just get rid of this, maybe we could actually see a sweep of this low again. Just because if you're looking between this low and this high, there's not really a clear point of interest that I would really be interested in going off. Maybe if price sweeps Asia low, and then we can go from there. Actually, yeah, I have a few areas in mind here. So maybe sweep of Asia low, that's the first one. We have this area of demand as well, which price induced. So let's see if it can react from one of those areas. Right, there you go. So first of all, Asia low taken out inside this current bullish leg. If I mark that back on. So yeah, if we can start to see price break bullish from here, this would be a valid opportunity. In terms of structure at the moment, I'd need to see it break this high before looking for any buys. Right, there we go. So there's our change of character. At least looking for price to target this high. Yeah, in terms of entry areas, you kind of have this whole region, but if I enter there, I can't get a good risk to reward on this trade. So if you look, for example, something like this, I don't really want to target all the way up here because price hasn't really shown any intent. So what I'm actually going to do, maybe if we drag this down and then basically look for a more refined entry, there's probably also a lower time frame demand here as well. If you look down here, you kind of have this demand. So yeah, if we can enter here, this would be fine, but it is a slightly riskier position, slightly lower probability. But yeah, let's see if this pulls back for us. Okay, nope, so it's now invalid. The reason this is invalid now is just because price got very far away from that first POI and it has come up and reacted from supply. But yeah, good analysis there, just sadly no entry. Let's see what it does from here. Looks like it's probably going to retake the lows anyway. Yeah, there you go. And this is Asia session, so I'm just going to fast forward it. And yeah, that demand... Actually, yeah, this could be another valid buying opportunity, actually. So what I'm seeing here is the fact that you've come down, swept the bottom of that demand zone that price previously reacted from. If you're looking at the 4 hour as well, actually no, so I think there's a very high likelihood this low gets taken out anyway, so I'm not really interested in buying here. And yeah, there you go. So there wasn't a valid entry anyway, so that's completely fine. And cool, so it does look like price is still bearish here. We've got quite a lot of momentum coming in, but let's see how it reacts to this low. Yeah, there we go, so close straight below. What we can look for now is for price to head towards the next liquidity level, which is very obviously this one right here. Overall still bullish though, so I'm really only interested in buying. If we get rid of some of these markings and we go back to the daily time frame, again you can still see daily time frame wise it is still very much bullish, so you know, still not really interested in trying to sell this, although I do think there's a high chance that it comes down to at least this previous low right here, and maybe also this one as well. You also have an area of demand just here that price could maybe react from. So these are the sorts of areas I would look out for in terms of bullish continuations. But in actuality here, because we have had, so how you could potentially perceive this, right, is the fact that we've had this change of character on the hourly. Prices come up, held supply. It's then obviously shifted internally back bearish just here when we had that change of character. Very clearly, or there's a very high likelihood we see it head into this low as well. So what I'm thinking is you could actually look for a sell down into that low from here if we're looking to follow this sort of internal trend. If it pulls back, which it didn't, so no entry there, but valid analysis or good analysis anyway. So yeah, if you're looking at this from the perspective that it could be a reversal, given that we had that change of character, then you've had another breaker structure now. Prices grabbed these previous lows. And yeah, that's exactly, yeah, so that's what I was looking for. So again, daily time frame still bullish. Price has grabbed that previous higher time frame low, as you guys can see, starting to push up and react. But what I've just noticed as well is if you look on the hourly time frame, you've had this impulsive flip bullish just here on the hourly time frame and all the lower time frames as well. So what I'm thinking is if you can get a pullback here into this area of demand, I'm actually happy to buy here. So let's set the limit. I'll have stops just below that demand, and again, we'll just go for that mechanical 1 to 3. Probably want to watch out for this supply, just because again, I'm kind of keeping an open mind here that price may be reversing or it may continue to the upside. So I'm kind of playing both sides. If we are going to see continuations lower, and this is going to be a lower high for continuations lower, you could also still take the perspective that this was the breaker structure. So you want to look for a pullback to then continue selling. So if price comes into this POI, right, and presents a valid selling opportunity, that would also be valid for me, because here is a bit more ambiguous because the lower time frames are slightly conflicting. But yeah, for as of right now, because we have had that sweep of higher time frame liquidity, clear change of character and clear imbalance created, I'm gonna just be looking for buys here. And there we go, we are tagged in. But yeah, at the very least, you would expect it to head towards this next liquidity level anyway, so I'm quite confident in this trade. I like how it's consolidating below as well. That's a good sign. There we go. So it did just take that liquidity level. Let's see if this can continue further. Damn, so stop loss on that one, but it looks like price is now running. Yeah, so what I actually skipped over here and what I missed was the fact that, you know, you had this change of character. Price has now tapped into this area of demand. That's where we should have been entering from. But yeah, I think if price can present a re-entry here, which I think it has just done. So we've had this change of character, right, from that hourly demand that it swept these lows into. If we're looking to enter or re-enter, we could look for a pullback into maybe this demand down here. If it can start to pull back before sweeping the current high. So I'm going to set a limit back here again, and we'll go for that 1 to 3 TP. And there we go, literally a perfect trade there. Happened in around literally 1 hour. So price tagged us in and then rallied straight towards TP. So that was nice. And now we've also had another main breaker structure right here. So again, kind of just looking to trade this bullish order flow up to at least this supply zone. It does look like price is still continuing to the upside, so this would be a nice opportunity in my opinion. Let's see if we can get another valid entry on this. If not, we can look to sell from that supply as well. Yeah, there we go. So price has tapped into that supply zone now. Let's see if we can get a sell here. Looking at the M5 current structure, we need to see this broken first of all. There we go. So that's what I was waiting for. Valid M5 change of character after we swept some highs into supply. So if I mark this on, and then what I'm asking myself here, so every time I see this confirmation, right, I'm asking myself, inside this current range, where is there an area of imbalanced supply? In this case, I can only see this one at a premium of the range, or at the extreme of the range in this case. And below that, there's not really any imbalanced supply. So this is the only valid one if price can come up into this. I'm going to have stops slightly above it because there is a scenario where price could maybe do something like this and then continue lower, so a re-grab of that high, but the trade would still be valid if that did happen. So I want to have the stops slightly above that high, and then yeah, we'll set this trade and see how it plays out. Again, the higher time frame thought process here is the fact that this could potentially be a reversal, because we did have that hourly time frame shift bearish here. It came up, held the supply, and then we've broken structure again. So this, between this high and this low, that's kind of like the whole bearish leg that you're looking at. And price has now come up and reacted from supply. So even if this thing is going to be bullish and it's going to keep rallying, you could still see a retracement lower to probably at least this previous low before any sells come back in, before any more buys come back into the market. I'm also just going to mark on this as well as the hourly structure. Hourly structure is still bullish, keep in mind, so this would be probably a lower probability trade, but let's see how it plays out. Oh, okay, there we go. So again, perfect reaction from that area, sweep of liquidity into it. And this is why I love that 1 to 3 mechanical TP rule, right? Because you don't have to hold the trades and get huge risk rewards like this, which, very often price is not going to run that far. But you can just take advantage of these small reactions from the supply and demand zones. And then, yeah, basically just look to capitalize on that. Yeah, let's see where price goes from here. I'm not currently seeing anything else in terms of like re-entries. Because this is the hourly bullish leg, if we could maybe see a sweep of this and then a reaction from there, we could still look for some more selling opportunities, buying opportunities as well. Right, there you go. So you've seen a sweep at that hourly trend low, which was this low right here. And price is starting to react as well. You can see it flipped bullish, but this is Asia session, so I'm just going to fast forward this. Right, so we've seen that, the sweep, we've seen a change of character. Price also came back, retested, and then broke structure again. You can also see it held demand just here. So if we're looking to enter, I would be entering on this area, just because it's a clear area of demand in the current leg. So if I set a limit here, stop slightly below that low, and we'll go for a 1 to 3. Slightly smaller stop actually. Right, there we go. So we're tagged into this move. The reason I'm targeting here, by the way, is because it aligns with this liquidity level that previously tapped into this supply zone. Cool, there we go. And that is exactly why as well I don't make my trades break even. I just simply let them run, because if price had come back here and tapped break even, it doesn't make sense, because the trade is still valid until price came below my stop loss. So nice trade there, TP hit. You could have also got another re-entry as well once you saw price grab these lows and then flip bullish just here. So that was very nice. And yeah, at the moment this is now kind of in a consolidation, so I'm just going to let it play out. Not really looking for anything here. Cool, there we go. So you can see price has now reacted from that supply, very clearly pushed away, and is heading back down towards those previous lows. So what we can basically anticipate now is we've shifted back bearish. Price is very likely going to head towards at least this low down here, because how I'm basically viewing this now is that this is likely going to be the lower high to put in a new low and forming the next leg of the trend down. And then if price does sweep this low, we still have an area of demand just below it where we could see the overall daily trend continue, because still on the daily time frame, right, this pullback does look quite corrective. So we could definitely see those continuations come into play. And yeah, there you go. So you've seen that break of structure. There wasn't really an opportunity here to get back in the sells, but good analysis regardless. And cool, there we go. So price is now in this area of demand. This is where we want to be focusing in and looking for those buying opportunities. So let's see what London session does. Right, there we go. So London session opens. We get that change of character on the M15 and M5. We've created an area of imbalanced demand down here. So this is a valid opportunity. I'm going to set this limit just there. And stops below these lows. There's no need to have it below these lows, because if it does break these ones, then, you know, it's almost guaranteed to hit these ones as well anyway. So I'll set this limit just here and we'll see how it plays out. Yeah, okay, so it doesn't look like it's pulling back for us. I'm going to cancel that. But we have seen price continue over to the upside, so we can look for another buying opportunity if price presents a new POI. Okay, still moving over to the upside. Nothing clear just yet. Okay, so it's come down. We've held this area of demand. Did flip bullish just there, but there's not a clear entry POI here. Still nothing I would take just there. So let's just see how it plays out. Yeah, there we go. So it did re-grab the low anyway. Still within this 4-hour demand zone though, so as long as it holds this rectangle, this area of demand, then it's fine to look for a re-entry. Or a first entry. We didn't get an entry anyway. And there we go. So there we can see price has re-grabbed the low in the demand. We've come up, broken hourly structure, which is also the same in this case as the M15 structure. But yeah, nice one. If I'm looking for an entry here, what I want to see is a pullback into this range, maybe into this sort of demand here. But because it is, you know, it has got quite far away and this area is quite a big area, I want to wait for another confirmation in this area. On the 4-hour as well, you can see very nice area of 4-hour demand. And very clearly price has now flipped back bullish, so we can at least expect it to head towards these previous highs. I think this is the next target. So yeah, you could set a limit on this area, right? And then target that high. And yeah, actually that gives us a 1 to 3. So this is completely valid. I'm just going to set it and see how it goes. But obviously if you wanted a more refined entry on this, you could wait for another confirmation if price presents one. I like how corrective this pullback is as well. London session sweeps Asia low into the demand. So if I'm looking for a confirmation here, which I'm not because I'm already in this first trade, but if I was, what I would be looking for is, you know, currently a break of this high because that's the only structure, but let's have a look and see how it develops. If it re-grabs the low, that would be a lot better. Still hasn't broken it though, so let's keep playing price. Yeah, there you go. So if you were waiting for a confirmation here, price has broken this internal structure. We've seen a pullback, so you could maybe look to enter from this sort of region. I'm not going to do that because I'm in this initial trade back here, so I'd be risking 2%. But if you missed it, you could probably enter something like this with stops below this low, and then just go for a 1 to 3 again. And there you go. So that would have played out nicely as well. And we have now just had a break of that main structure, so this trade looks good to run. And we can also look for a potential re-entry as well. Okay, or not, so price just continued to rally. Didn't really get a re-entry opportunity there. And our liquidity level has now been taken that I said price was likely going to gravitate towards. But it's still very clearly bullish, so I'm not looking for any sells here. I'm just looking for more continuations. Next level to kind of watch out for would be this daily supply. Again, I'm not really interested in selling from it, but it is a level that we could maybe see price react from. So just want to be aware of it essentially. But yeah, for the time being, I'm just looking for more buying opportunities if price can retrace for us. Okay, at the moment, we're not seeing a retracement. Yeah, there you go. So now price has reacted from that daily supply. This is where you could potentially see a retracement. Area where we could see it retrace into, we have this area of demand. And apart from that, there's not really anything I would go off unless it starts to break higher and form some new structure. But yeah, there we go. So price has come down. Very corrective looking pullback as well. We've tapped into this discounted demand. So this is a valid area to look for longs. 5 minute as well has started to shift bullish, as you guys can see. There's no imbalance yet though, so this is not quite valid for me. Okay, nope, so we've had another grab at the low. Let's see if it can start breaking some structure from here. So yeah, we've had this pullback, has now broken above that high. I'm not seeing a clear entry area here though, so I'm going to let it develop some more. Actually, yeah, this is nice. So I like this POI. One thing I always emphasize to the guys inside VIP is that when you have areas of demand or supply that sweep liquidity to the left, like we have in this case, they become much more likely to hold. So I'm happy to enter this. And again, just go for a 1 to 3. If price can pull back, this is a nice area of liquidity above the zone as well. Cool, let's see, we're tagged in. And there we go, so nice reaction there. Notice how price sort of rejects and struggles to break past the areas of supply and demand that sweep liquidity to the left, as we had in this case. You can also see in this case, it was a clear level of M15 demand. And looking to the left, look where price pulls back from. It's kind of just created these eagle highs, hasn't swept any liquidity, hasn't come into an area of supply. So what is the probability we see a reversal from here back to the lows? It's very unlikely because typically price will sweep liquidity or tap into a valid supply zone before reversing. So yeah, that was a very clean trade. But yeah, guys, I think this video is already getting quite long. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the trading plan will be left for free in the description below if you guys want to check that out. And if you haven't seen any of the previous parts where we backtest gold going from January 2024 all the way up until the end, then watch this video next. I go through around 30 minutes or so more worth of backtesting, so definitely check that out. And I hope you all have a great rest of the day or evening, and I will catch you in the next video.